Greetings everyone. Today we're going to be discussing the Commercial Lease Disclosure Letter of Intent, also referred to as an LOI or a Letter of Intent to Purchase or to Lease. This is most commonly used in the commercial space of real estate, also the industrial, and mostly everything outside of residential. When it comes to residential leases, a lot of times, at least in the state of Florida, you'll present a contract to lease or some type of offer, an application to rent the premises. But in the commercial space and everything else outside of residential, you'll most likely use a letter of intent, an LOI. You can use the contracts to lease, just to state the initial terms and present them to landlords in the commercial space. But more often than not, it's usually a LOI, letter of intent, and this is a simple LOI that we have drafted here that can be used. There's many different types of LOIs that can be drafted. So a lot of times attorneys prepare them. Sometimes the landlords or the tenants themselves prepare their own LOIs. If you're a member of our brokerage, we have LOIs that we could get you affiliated with or to use for your contracts. And this is one of them here. This is a really simple one. It's very basic, just to put standard information into it. So I'm going to go through this video filling this out and just give a general idea of what an LOI is and how to use it. So before we begin, as always, our company is NIS Realty Inc. We're licensed in the state of Florida at the time of making this video. We pay all of our agents 100% of their real estate commission. More information about that and how it works can be found on our website, nisrealty.com, or you can look in the description in this video and there's more info about our company. But enough about that. Let's start talking about the LOI, because that's probably why you're here for this video. So the LOI is just an initial offer. It's not an actual lease or anything. It just states the terms of what usually the tenant gives to the landlord, of what they're looking to rent the premises for, just basic information as we'll go through here. As you can see, base rent. It talks about the CAM. If you don't do commercial, this is usually the community maintenance for taking care of the common area within the shopping plaza, the warehouse district, the retail locations. That's usually what the CAM is associated with. A lot of times the commercial aspects of real estate, there is a CAM fee, and it can include these things like maintenance, property taxes, insurance. A lot of times the property tax, insurance, and so forth is paid separately within the fees of the base rent. But let's start filling out this document, and then we'll discuss more about that as we go through it. The date, we put the date up here, simple enough. So let's just put a standard date there. The tenant. So the tenant, you could put it in the tenant's personal name, or the tenant can have a company they're going to want to put it in. Let's just say our good placeholder name, Billy Bob LLC. Let's just say there's a company that they're going to put it in, and this is the name of the company. Just the tenant's company's name here, or you could put their personal name, whatever they're looking to do. Most of the time, it's usually an entity or a company, so I'm going to put that there. The subject location, write the full address. So let's say it's a placeholder, 123 Happy Street as a placeholder. Let's make sure you put the unit number. If it's in a shopping plaza and there's a unit number like 7A, could be 904, whatever the unit number is, you want to make sure you place it in there. So let's just say it's 904 for this purpose. And let's just put a placeholder, city and state. Make sure you write the full property address. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I've seen it happen with a lot of realtors. I see it less in the commercial space, because usually if you're trying to get into commercial or practicing commercial real estate or anything outside of residential, you kind of have to know what you're doing a little bit or have someone to help guide you. But make sure you put the full city and state and zip code and the unit number. Don't leave any of that out. It sounds ridiculous, but I see realtors leave it out all the time. So make sure you put it there. Moving on, the rentable space. Those things go off in commercial usually, typically, by the square footage. So the rentable space here, you're going to usually want to put the square footage, however many square feet it is, and then it goes by a base price of the square footage. So let's say this is a 2,000 square foot retail space we're going to be renting. So it's off of 2,000 square feet because it goes by per square foot of the price. The lease terms, you put whatever here. Usually in commercial real estate, typically it's 3 to 5 years. It could be less. It could be 2 years. It could be 7 years. It could be 10 years. I've done 10-year leases for some major corporate retailers. So let's just say it's a 5-year lease. Renewal options, you could put things here if they're going to renew. A lot of times if you'll do like a 5-year lease, then you could put something like tenant has the option to renew 5-year lease. Something like that, just to state if there are renewal options or if the tenant is requesting renewal options, so that if the 5 years is up, the tenant has the opportunity to either walk away or to renew the lease and negotiate the terms. Base rent, like I said before, it's per square foot. So it's like in residential, usually things are, it's $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, $2,500 a month. In commercial, it goes off of usually, not always, but usually per the square footage. So if it's 2,000 square feet that we wrote here, and let's say you do $10 per foot, you just have to do that arithmetic or the math, whatever you want to call it, of 10 times 2,000. That equals the amount for the annual period. You'll divide that by 12, and you'll get your balance there of what it costs per month if you want to get a monthly amount. But things usually go off of per square footage. So let's just say it's $10 per square feet. If you need more information about that and how it works, you could always contact us, and we'll be happy to assist you if you're a member of our brokerage. So we'll put that there. The CAM fees, like I said, this is a good way to think about CAM fees. Is this? Think if you do residential. Let me try to simplify this. Let's say you're buying a condo in residential. There's usually a condo association. They usually have what's known as monthly assessments. A more typical term for it is the maintenance, the monthly maintenance fee. So you own the condo, but the association requires you to pay a monthly maintenance or assessments is what the actual term is for it, of let's say a few $100s a month or whatever it is. The CAM is kind of like that, not exactly, but it's in a way like that because it covers usually the common area, the community. So the tenant in this commercial space is going to be paying their portion of the CAM fees. It's usually based off of square footage. A lot of times a commercial outside of residential, things are based off of per square foot. So off of this 2,000 square feet that we wrote here, let's say the CAM fees are, let's say $350 a square foot. Could be any amount. Could be $1.80. It really just depends what the CAM fees are in the community. And then, once again, you'll have to do the arithmetic of multiplying it by the square footage, dividing it by 12 to get a monthly amount, if that's what you're looking for, to see how much it is per month. Now, in this LOI, you can, does it include maintenance, property tax? You would check mark those. Most of the time, it doesn't. I'll discuss that a little more as we get further down here. For right now, we're going to talk about the annual base rent. So the annual base rent, that means every year the rent can increase, and you could put it in here. And it could be anywhere. It could be 1%, it could be 3%, it could be 5%. It's whatever the parties agree upon. Usually, in my experience, it's anywhere between 2 to 5%, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's set in stone. That's just my experience and what I've seen, what's usually negotiated. So anywhere between 2 to 3%. Let's just say it's like 2.5% for right now. We'll go from there. This is, every year the base rent will increase. So off of that 2,000 square feet, it's $10 a foot. So that $10, it's not going to be $10 per foot after each year. It's going to go up a little bit, and you'll have to do the math to get that amount. The commencement date, let's say wherever the lease is going to begin. Let's say it's going to begin on this date. You just put a date there for when the parties want the lease to begin. Security deposit, whatever you want to put in security. Let's just say we'll put $5,000 just for a placeholder. That's fully negotiable. Prepaid rent, you could put prepaid rent here if there is going to be prepaid rent. I'm just going to put 0 for right now because we're not going to really discuss about prepaid rent, but if the landlord wants that, you'd put that there. Landlord improvements, if they want the landlord to improve anything or do any type of renovations or make sure something's available, you'd write that in here. It could be something from maybe the property needs some type of plumbing work done, or the bathrooms need to be in fully operational standard, which they usually do, but maybe they're not, and you just want to state in here that you visit the property and a couple of things you want in working condition before you take possession of the premises. You put that there. And the tenant improvements, you could put that the tenant wants to make certain improvements, maybe renovate the unit, if they're trying to use it for a food and beverage business, make it into like a restaurant and it was originally a retail location, they could put there that they're looking to renovate the building to accommodate restaurant equipment. I'm not going to really write too much into these improvement areas, but if you're a member of our brokerage or you just want further information, you could reach out to us about what you're looking to do as far as like the renovations, because a lot of time a commercial spaces, retail spaces, a lot of times the tenants are going to renovate it, whether they're changing it from retail to a restaurant or food and beverage or vice versa. There's usually some type of renovations involved, and then it gets deeper than that. I'm not going to go too into it because it's become a really long video, so I'm just going to leave it at that and just a landlord improvement, tenant improvements. You would discuss that here. Same thing for the remarks. You could put things in here if there's you want to state that there's additional property taxes. Usually in commercial, the tenant is going to be responsible for their portion of the property taxes. In the state of Florida, and I think only in the state of Florida, there's a rent tax, like a commercial rent tax. Hopefully it's going to disappear in the next year or two. I believe it is, but at the time of making this video, there's also like a rent tax that the tenant will be responsible for. And then, of course, usually insurance is there as well. Sometimes the insurance could be in the CAM, but most of the time the insurance is paid for separately, and it's based off of per square footage, similar to the CAM and the base square footage. But you could write that into the remarks here just to state some things. A lot of times with an LOI, it's usually customly made. This is just a standard LOI that you could use to write extra things in here for, if you don't have one. But usually tenants have a custom LOI that states what exactly they want to do, what exactly they want provided, and it's a little more detailed. This is a very simple document just to discuss when the LOI is and just state some basic terms here. I've used this document many times. It's definitely, you could write things in here, just keep it simple what the terms are going to be. And if you need additional, you could say things like, like if you're running out of space, you could say see Exhibit A, and you could attach an Exhibit A with an additional document stating additional terms or additional things to be done, and have everyone execute that. So you could look into doing something like that. If it is agreed by all the parties, that you'd put the broker's information here. So if you're a realtor and you're working for a brokerage, you would put the company name that you work for here. Let's just say John Doe is working with Niz Realty Inc. And then you'd put that there. This is our company name, so let's say John Doe of Niz Realty Inc. is going to be working this transaction, and John is the only one working the transaction. You could put an A here for non-applicable, but maybe there's another realtor involved, another broker involved. You'd put their information here, the agent's name here, and the brokerage name there. But let's just say John is the only one working for this purposes of this video. And that's pretty much it. You can read through here. There's nothing else to fill in beside having the tenants and the landlord or their representatives print and sign and date. And that's it for this very standard LOI. This is a very simple LOI. Some more intricate LOIs can be much longer. It could be like 5-10 pages long with additional exhibits stating a lot of different terms. That's usually how they're done, but you could use this LOI. There's nothing wrong with it if you just want to state some basic terms. Just to get things on the table and negotiations started. But if you're representing a tenant that's usually from an established bigger company like a franchisee or anything like that, usually they'll have their own LOIs from corporate or something like that. But there's nothing wrong with this LOI here, and there's nothing wrong with many other LOIs, and it's just a little simple video just explaining how things work, a little bit of commercial real estate. I can share a lot more information about commercial leases and things that happen and things to look forward to and how they work, because it's very different from residential, but I'm not going to do that in this video. Maybe if you'd like to see something like that, you could leave a comment in the video, in this video down at the bottom, asking for me to make a video like that. If I do see comments requesting that, I'll make a video like that. I'm more than happy to put that information out there for you to watch and to just learn from and hopefully be more successful in real estate. But until then, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.